Welcome back to a Celtic State of Mind. It's half-time. Red Star Belgrade 0, Celtic 0. Paul John Dykes will be joining me shortly. He'll just be making his way back up from the viewing area in Bad to come and log into the stream. So until he does, I'll bring in some of your comments and get some of the early impressions of that first half. I think fair to say, okay, we haven't conceded any goals. I think positives, I would maybe point to Liam Scales in defence. I think he's had another very good European performance. I would have to say I think that maybe is reflective of the fact that the players further up the park are not necessarily having their most effective game. I think with the fact we didn't really create any, I think, chances until Nygren's relatively tame free kick. I think that may be the first actual shot or attempt to disrupt the goalkeeper. A couple of free headers for Carter Vickers. Should we have done better at those opportunities? Are we seeing enough from the wide areas? I mean, certainly Tunekti and Yang have seen a fair bit of the ball, but are they doing enough forwards, kind of forward momentum type movements? Is too much of the playing it safe and passing it back. So let me know initially what your thoughts are on the first half. I'm going to start with bringing in Boris, I think is the name there. Good avatar, like that, looks nice. Acsom Pod, not sure who mentioned it on the podcast today about how often Nygren and Rio lose the ball in the middle of the park. 45 minutes in and a pattern is developing. Yeah, let's talk about both those players, but first of all, I would say Nygren showed on at least one occasion where he actually managed to beat two players at the touchline. I think we should have done more with the opportunity. Couldn't pick out a player, and then the move eventually breaks down. We don't manage to find one of our players in the box. But I don't think he's done enough of that, or has been given the opportunity to do enough of that. When it comes to Rio Hatate, I'll probably use the very professional term of saying he's had a shocker. I think it's been a real poor performance for him. I think he's had plenty of involvement, just hasn't done anything with it. Too often for me, short, simple passes have not came off. I think he's lost the ball on at least two or maybe three occasions, which has led to a counter-attack for Red Star Belgrade. So definitely something that we would... there's something we have to get a grip on. I think you can see the way Red Star Belgrade play. They're very, very quick on the counter-attack, actually, to the point where our midfielders, including Callum McGregor, I think his lack of pace has maybe been a little bit exposed at times. They're very quick at getting the ball to the forward players and actually have created a few chances from that. And as I say, the aforementioned Liam Scales, I think we've been fortunate he's really been on his game. And I think other than one moment where he lost Arnautovic at the back post, missed Stings's header, I think he's largely managed to shepherd most of those chances away. So, defensively, I think it's been a decent performance from us. I don't think that we've done enough going forward. I'm going to bring in Soph Scott. This is something that I noted as well. Maeda looking lazy, shouldn't have been caught offside as easy. There were a couple of occasions where I noticed that where, let's bring the boss man in, a couple of moments where I noticed either whether it was Yang or any of our midfielders, they weren't getting the ball at the point Maeda was making very good runs, and when they did, we weren't necessarily getting the Maeda wasn't timing those runs well enough. He was finding himself in offside positions too often. I have been joined by the boss. My OCD is kicking in, so I'm going to move him over to his usual position because I can't handle being on the left.
Always left wing. Every opportunity, left wing all the way. So Chris, what have I missed? Bring me up to date. What have you missed so far?
What you've missed is I've given my brief summary of the first half, and we've brought in a few comments and we've responded to some of those comments. So key talking points so far, I think strong defensive performance by Liam Scales in particular, stepping up in Europe yet again. I think other than one moment where he lost Arnautovic towards the end of the first half there, missed Indy's header, and Arnautovic hits the pole behind netting. I think he's actually shepherded the defence very, very well. I would say that actually we've seen one or two decent moments from Nygren. He beat two players at one point in the touchline, but we didn't make enough of the opportunity. Wingers have been a little bit too pedestrian, playing it a little bit too safe, too many sort of backwards passes. There was one positive moment between Tunekti and Tierney where Tierney went on the overlap and put a good cross in, resulted in then getting a corner, but didn't make anything from that. Kobe Donovan, who I haven't mentioned yet, but I think Kobe Donovan's done pretty well. Rio, the areas of concern, I think, Rio Hatate in particular, I used the term shocker describing that first half performance. I thought his use of the ball was very poor. I thought he at times wasn't reading the play. He's had plenty of involvement, just not done anything really positive with it. And he's actually lost the ball on 2 to 3 occasions where it's resulted in a counter-attack. And the speed of the counter-attack, I think, is highlighting the lack of pace that players like Callum McGregor have, not able to get back and cover. And have been quite fortunate nothing's came from that. Last point we've not mentioned, Big Casper kept us in the game with that save.
What a save. Casper saves. The merchandise is available from Acsom.
Casper saves, yes.
I'm going to start, I think, and do it in blocks. I'm going to start off with the defence you mentioned there. I think Liam Scales, much maligned Liam Scales, has been outstanding tonight. I mean, we would be pretty picky to try and find something that he did wrong. When you look at some of the kind of saving challenges, back post, springs to mind. There was two occasions where Big Scalesy was outstanding at the back. And I think before the game, Chris, we spoke about that spine of the Celtic team, and it was Casper, CCV, Callum McGregor, Rio and Maeda. So let's evaluate how they've done, because these are, and Tierney, these are the guys that you need to look at and say, well, you've got all the experience in the world now. Many of them with Celtic when it comes to this kind of level and Champions League level. Let's see you bring the levels up of the rookies and Donovan, of the new guys like Nygren and Tunetke. And you need to ask the question, have they done it? I think CCV has the chance in a match at the end.
Yes.
You watch it again, Chris, and at first you're thinking, and you watch it again, you think you've got to score. You've got to score that.
And it's the second time we found him with a header, actually, and we've not exploited that enough.
I know. So it's one of the situations where you may rue that opportunity later on in the game. I do think we've got another gear or two, actually, Chris. I think that we've played within ourselves. Now, that might be due to guys like Rio Hatate, who hasn't had a good game. You called it a shocker. I used to call it back in the day a Reggie Blinker. That's what you played if you had a stinker. So, yeah, he's not been good enough. You could hook him at half-time, but I don't think Brendan Rodgers will, for two reasons. The first one being, how many times have we said that on this half-time show, and he's come out and he's played really well in the second half, Chris? I don't know if his head's in it. We spoke about that as well in terms of his future at Celtic. He should be absolutely orchestrating these games at this stage. This is a player that came in Angie's first season, albeit, January signing. But he's had campaigns under his belt, Chris. And he's the type of guy now that he should be leading the way for the likes of Nygren. Tunetke and Yang have been fairly quiet on the wings, but I do think we can step that up a gear. Donovan's done really well. I think he's done really well, young Donovan. We've been right to play him. But I want to focus for a moment on the captain, because we did speak about him before the game. And I was talking to Quinny there in the fan zone. Quinny's very analytical when he watches football. It's something that I've had to add to my process of watching Celtic games, because I've always watched Celtic games through enjoyment. But when you're talking about them, you need to have some kind of point, some kind of analysis or observation. I'm more of an observational fan. I think Quinny's very analytical. And I said to him two things in the first half. I said, right, firstly, of the midfield, does Nygren have pace? Has he got the pace? Because, again, that's another thing. He's played many games on the right wing in his career. Does he have pace? And I'm not sure he's got that burst of pace, Chris. He seems to get around the park, but it's almost like, one-paced, very much one-paced. I don't think he's had a bad game, incidentally, Nygren. And the other question I asked when he was McGregor, does he carry the ball enough? Well, the answer is no. But frustratingly, he can do it. He has shown that he can do it. How often does he get that ball and break the lines by carrying it? Not often enough. And again, we spoke about that tried and tested getting the ball from the centre halves and not finding the pass himself, but maybe laying it off to Donovan or Tierney and expecting them to find the pass. It's almost as if he's a pass within a move that we don't need these days.
Yes.
So I don't know how we're going to look at that. I don't think there'll be a change at half-time in that respect. But when we look at the midfield, I think Rio or McGregor could come off. I think when you look at the rest of the team, you could probably look at Yang. No offence to Yang, but you might look at James Forrest to come on and make an impression. You would look at Maeda and think, what's he brought to the table? He's a campaigned kind of veteran now of this Celtic side. What's he bringing to the table tonight? Not a great deal. So there's a few people in there that you give them the first 10 minutes of the second half, Chris, and then you make the changes.
Yeah, I probably agree with both those changes. I think we spoke about, could that midfield trio, is that effective? Do they have the balance? Are people playing in the right roles? And again, on tonight's evidence, I don't think we are. It's interesting because, we're playing away, but I think we've had the type of possession that a home team would expect to have tonight. And it's largely been Red Star's been playing on the counter. And I think that's telling for me that we're not taking advantage of the amount of the ball we've seen. We're just not making enough of it. We've got plenty of passes, but as you say, there's almost a pass too many in the middle, and it's ineffective. It's like we'll pass out from the back, it'll go to Callum McGregor, and Callum McGregor will pass it back and then tell the defender where to play it. And actually, on a couple of occasions, I noticed he did that with CCV, and CCV played a completely different pass. So the system was completely ineffective in that regard for me. And I genuinely think Callum McGregor's best work is done when he's moving and carrying the ball forward towards goal. I think we need to absolve them of that kind of defensive or anchor man type of responsibility, because I don't think we're getting the benefit of it. Again, just based on what I've watched. Yang, again, I think it's a little bit similar. He's not done anything particularly badly. There's just not enough end product. There's no creativity. You could label the same at Tunekti, but I think we've seen that the potential is there with Tunekti. When him and Kieran Tierney have linked up, it's produced, a cross or a corner. He is bringing the ball inside. He is trying to make something happen. I think they're doubling up on him, actually. I think Red Star have identified him as a danger man, because he does look like the player could make something happen, but we're just not playing, I think, to enough to his strengths. And actually, when we have tried to get the ball to him, it's been telegraphed. I think that the one downside to Liam Scales' game tonight is that he's telegraphed too many of these passes down towards Tunekti, and they've been easy to intercept. Rio, I just think, sometimes he does his best work in the last 10 minutes of games, but we could be a goal or two down by that time. Whereas I think if we've got a more effective player in there, we could be 2 goals up, because we're not getting the creative, innovative, high risk type penetrative passes that we normally get from Rio attackers. They're just not coming off tonight.
No, they're not, Chris. And I think one of the reasons he'll keep them on, particularly beyond half time anyway, is because they're 2 players who press constantly high up the park. Rio Hatate does that. Yep. And you can't deny their work rate is still there, despite the fact nothing's coming off for them. And I know there's going to be comments coming through saying, their heads are gone, they're like 2 jerseys. I get all that, absolutely. It's pretty much, it's clear for everybody to see. But I think in terms of their pressing, I think Brendan Rodgers called Maeda the best presser of a ball in European football. And tonight, that's going to be key. But what does it create? Does it create some space behind? Tunekti is, as Alan Robertson quite rightly said in the comments, they're doubling up on him. And it's almost all the onus is on him to make something happen. Already, after just 2 games of football in a Celtic jersey, he's made that impact, Chris, and already we're saying he needs to do something. Well, I think the responsibility has to be on the shoulders of the more kind of veteran players who have got the campaigns under their belts, rather than looking at the new guy to create something. And by the way, he could, and he probably will create something as well. But I think the high pressing of Maeda and Hatate will keep them on the park for another 10-15. We've been okay. There's been moments at the back. We've been fairly comfortable, but there's been a few warning signs, Chris. Great save for Kasper Schmeichel. I don't know why Kasper's getting so much kind of flack. A lot of people have been calling for Sinisalo to come in. I don't know if confidence was lost due to the Scottish Cup final. He should never have played the game. He should not, and it's not even with hindsight. You can go and check the shows leading up to that. Sinisalo was in a kind of rhythm, in a groove, and we should have kept him in the team. And then obviously what happened, and everybody knows. But Schmeichel showed again tonight. And if you were to look at last season's Champions League campaigns, there was nights like tonight where Schmeichel kept us in the game, Chris. And it's a little reminder to a lot of people who are saying he's past it, he's overweight, bring in Sinisalo. I think, Schmeichel reminded us all tonight, he's still a top-class goalie.
Yeah. I think if it doesn't make that save, they're a goal up. I mean, that's a bottom line, and that's why you need them there for the big moments. And look, I've no doubt, I'm a big fan of Sinisalo. I've no doubt that, he knuckles down, he will get his opportunity, because we know Casper's maybe working on a limited, timescale in terms of his career. He's getting to that twilight period, but he's still absolute quality. And it's just a very good resource to have in your team, as someone that can pull off those kind of things, particularly at this level. So yeah, no issues with Casper. Happy to keep him in the fold for the moment.
Absolutely. I think that's us up, and the second half is underway or about to kick off, Chris. Thanks for holding the fort for a few minutes before I came back from the fan zone. No, you may have to do the same at full time, depending on the results, because if it doesn't go our way, I'll probably get booed off stage. Thanks, everybody, for getting involved, and thank you to Chris McIlwain for joining us on A Celtic State of Mind.